John always talks about me and rips on me in his messages. And a wise person once told me that when you speak ill of someone else, the only person that looks bad is you. But John and I have lived life together, and we fight a lot because we work together. But in the end, it's always, I'm sorry, I love you, and God has been good. And even though he's like totally absent-minded, forgets everything, shows up late to everything, he has high integrity. Like, I trust John with my life. Like, he loves the Lord and follows Jesus. Not the most responsible person, but loves Jesus with his whole heart. And there's plenty of times that there's needs that come up in the church, and he's always like, give him my salary. Take it out of my paycheck. And we have to be like, you have to take care of your family. But he's so generous and just trusts the Lord with his life and is just radical like that. And I love to serve the Lord with you. And that's all the nice stuff I'm ever going to say. So we have 5 kids, and I am not naturally the motherly, nurturing type. I love to play with my kids and organize our schedules and do stuff and stay busy. But when it comes to somebody falling down and having blood, I'm not the coddling, scratch their backs, read them books kind of person. So I have to work at that. People say that I'm incredibly stubborn and independent. And when we were living in Michigan, it was baby number 3. And my water broke at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was writing Brian a note. I'm like, I'll call you later when I need you, but I'm gonna head to the hospital. And I drove myself to the hospital, and as I was driving, I'm like, this probably isn't the wisest thing to do. So I got on the phone and I called my mom, because she was in Hawaii and awake, and I was like, Mom, just stay on the phone with me till I get to the hospital. And I got checked in. And my mom was so excited that she called everybody over here. And I was like, Sharina's having her baby, blah, blah, blah. So then John gets on the phone and calls my husband. And he's like, how's she doing? How's it going? And Ryan's like, what? What are you talking about? And John's like, where are you? And Ryan's like, in bed? And John's like, she's at the hospital having a baby. So Ryan bolts out of bed. And anyways, he made it in time for the baby to arrive. And the rest is history. When we were living on Maui, I think it was one of them, I love to surf. The ocean is my happy place. So I surfed up until the day before I delivered. And the coolest thing about being pregnant and in the water is as soon as I paddle up to the lineup, everybody splits. Nobody wants to be around me. I think they think, we don't want to hurt the lady and her unborn baby, so we'll just go home. So I get every wave that I want, and it's the awesomest thing. Anyways, so after the baby came, I went back into the water, I think it was a couple of days after delivery, and there was a huge swell, and I was standing on the beach, and I was like, I shouldn't go in. I probably shouldn't go in, but then I went anyway. And this wave, picked me up, and just dropped me. My board went under me, flipped over, so the fins were sticking up, and just slammed me down on top of my board, and it split my body open. And I was like, oh shoot, this is terrible. So I paddle in, I grab a towel and just tie it around me, and I'm driving to emergency. And I called the doctor, and I'm like, I'm heading in, I think I need stitches. And he's like, is this the stitches from a few days ago from your delivery? And I was like, no, these are different ones. And I don't want to talk about it. Can you help me out? So he met me over there and gave me 13 stitches. And he's like, you were 1 centimeter away from your artery. And if you would have hit that, you would have bled out in the water. You would have never made it out of the water. And he's like, somebody is watching out for you. And I'm like, oh, I do really stupid stuff. This is so dumb, but I don't know. Anyway, so that's me. So baby number 5, I went into Kaiser. We were 4 or 5 months along, and just a routine appointment, and the nurse is doing my ultrasound. I'm laying there, and I'm thinking, what are we gonna have for dinner? How quickly can I get out of this and move on with my day? And she leaves and comes back with the doctor. And they're both standing there looking at me, and I could tell they're nervous. And I'm like, okay, you guys are making me nervous. What's going on? And the doctor pulls up the ultrasound and she's like, your baby's heartbeat is not there. And you've lost this child of yours. And I sat there and I was like, wait, what? Like, I'm so far along. This doesn't happen at this time. I was totally unprepared for that news. And I don't even remember, she kept talking. I couldn't understand anything she was saying. And I left the room and my whole body was shaking. Thank you. And I walked through Kaiser's lobby, and I remember just putting my head down, and I'm like, I don't want to see anyone, look at anyone, because if I look at anyone, I'm just going to fall apart. So I got to my car, closed the door, and just like bawled. And I've had girlfriends in the past that have lost and had miscarriages, and secretly, I think I've dismissed that and thought, it's an unborn baby, they never saw the child, I'm sure they'll be fine, and life goes on. But until you experience it for yourself, like, that pain is real, and it's deep. A close friend and mentor of mine knows me well, and he's like, Sharina, I know you're going to just shove this and like blaze on with life, so I want to give you some advice. He's like, I want you to step into this and just sit in the pain and let God tell you what he wants you to know about himself and about yourself, and don't just run from this. And so I took his words to heart, and I was like, okay, Lord, what do you want to say to me? And I remember being in service one Sunday, it was a week later, and I was sitting right here, and I was watching people walk in the doors to our church. And that's when God spoke to me, and he said, every person that walks through these doors has a story. They've lost someone, or they've lost something, whether that's a loved one, a job, their health, or finances. Like, they might look good on the outside, but inside they're just holding it together. And that God was saying to me, like, I love every person that you lock eyes with. They matter to me, and they should matter to you too. I'll never forget that day. I think that experiencing pain and loss, like, there's this hole in your heart, and when you experience the loss, that's the chance that God can come in and fill that hole, and you experience God's love to a greater extent than you ever have. And I think that's what happened for me. And he showed me that through my pain that he loves me, and that the love I could feel towards this unborn baby is the love that God feels towards each of us. Knowing that I was loved allowed me to let go and let God. And instead of focusing on what I lost, I could focus on what was left. And that was my husband and our 4 children. And then a year later, God blessed us with Logan Douglas Husted, who is the current favorite in our family, and keeps us on our toes and has a huge personality, and God has been really good. Thank you.